What should I do? Give me a signal. Oh, what's this Joker doing now?
These videos are not for children. If you are a children, then piss off.
Hey there, I'm Infuso, and I've previously professed my love for the highly underrated, would-have-been main eventer Sean O'Haire. Well, today, in a similar manner, I'm here to take a look back at another worker, and more importantly gimmick, that I also feel is highly underrated. Another should-have-been, but definitely a never was. I'm talking, of course, about the man from the light side, Mordecai.
Back with your Wrestlemania, Mr. Wait a minute. No. Hear me. I don't know. Oh, man. How do you not hear this guy? Look at him. Mordecai claims to have chosen his first sinner.
This is a white.
Now, his time in this universe was short, and this video probably will follow suit. But I mean, if you think about it, all the greats' times in the industry was short. I mean, Stone Cold was really only Stone Cold for 5 years or so. CM Punk was only seen as a main eventer in WWE for about 3 years. And I was only wrestling in a ring for under a year. So you see what I mean? All the greats. In April of 2004, Vignettes began to air hinting that there would be a new big threat making their way to the WWE. A new powerhouse was about to make their debut, and make an immediate impact, which actually meant a little less around this time. See, this was during a time period where Vince was going through like a midlife crisis, and he went through several big men flavor of the months. This was around the time that Heidenreich and Snitsky were already on the scene and on the screen. So yeah, okay, let's just throw another one into the mix. But this one was a bit different. This was a character that was created in the same vein as legends such as Kane and The Undertaker. A semi-supernatural, otherworldly force. A man who wanted to rid the world of supposed sinners and recreate it in his high powers image. It's just unfortunate that he showed up to rid the wrestling world of sin when he did, because WWE already got rid of that following the WCW buyout. Tough break, big man. You'll get him next time. When this disciple finally made his appearance, he immediately made his presence known by taking out the likes of Scotty 2 Hotty and Funaki. And wow, you're a real big man going after the likes of one half of Too Much and Kung Fu Naki. Clearly, this man is a big deal. I mean, it's not like WWE would just job their cruiserweights out to anybody. Throughout his short time in the company, he'd claim in promos that he had the go-ahead from the biggest man upstairs to do as he did. He was on a righteous crusade to end the sinful acts displayed on WWE TV. Man, it's such a shame the right to censor never got a hold of this guy. I mean, he fit their whole aesthetic. I mean, just imagine how great this gimmick could have been during the Attitude Era. I'm not even making a joke there. Seriously, imagine how great this could have been during the Attitude Era. He'd have so much more to work with. It was teased on several occasions that he'd feud with the likes of Eddie Guerrero and The Undertaker. But nothing ever came of either one of these two teases. And you wanna know why? Because of hardcore freaking Holly. For some odd reason, Mordecai found himself feuding with the likes of Sparky Plug. And that's when it all went downhill. But that's just my take, and it might not be a good one. As a matter of fact, just to make sure I'm getting the full story here, I want to cover all grounds. Let's hear Hardcore Holly's.
Hello. As you can clearly tell from my Alabama accent, my name is Hardcore Holly. And this is a reading from my book, How to Take Holly, hardcore style. But before that, an advertisement. Do you have problems with being a man? Do you want to know how to be hardcore? Well, let me teach you!
Wouldn't believe like a tofu burrito before we go and fight the capitalist scum.
Shut the fuck up, you pussy! This isn't for you! Real men need a real razor! The type of razor that shoots communists in the dick and think liberalism deserves a sentence worse than death!
Worse than death?
Yes, worse than death! That's what I said, shit pussy!
Okay.
If you're someone that believes feminism is cancer and being Canadian or Mexican means that we deserve all of the fucking walls, then do we have a razor for you? Back in the old days, having a big lumberjack beard made you a man. Now hipsters have taken over, and they've made it look like shit.
Fucking turd lickers.
So now, to be a real man, you either need a clean-shaven face...
Or what?
A clean-shaven face! Fuck you!
Okay.
So if you love Donald Trump throwing grenades at deer and calling it hunting, pointing and laughing at anyone that says gender studies matter, or telling Fat Slob that there is only one gender,
Women are property.
then do we have a razor for you? 31 blades of facial hair and Nola Gay! Take that, face Japan!
Are those the ones who ate the bat?
Who cares? We won! Get yourself a razor and tell Gillette to lick your scrote. Your big, delicious, hairy scrote. Because manscaping is for imaginary genders. Fucking real man use razors!
Kevin Fertig came in as Mordecai, a sort of anti-Undertaker. And the idea was to build him as an opponent for the dead man. I worked with him at a pay-per-view and put him over. I liked that match. Kevin and I had good matches. That guy could go. And he's as rough and tough as anyone out there. He's super nice and very respectful. Even if he can be a huge ass kisser. He went as far as to live his gimmick. Wearing white clothes, white shoes, white shirt, everywhere he went. He was working hard to get the Mordecai gimmick over, but he could only go as far without the writers and creative on board, and they lost interest in him after a couple of months and sent him back down to the developmental territories, saying he needed to learn how to work properly. I don't know why they did that. The guy could work just fine. They brought him back as a vampire a few years later, got bored again, and then fired him. And that blows my mind.
And that was a reading from me. Hardcore. Holly. Look out on YouTube for my new ASMR channel. Softcore. Holly.
He's not wrong. It was only about a month or so later that the company lost any and all interest in the Big White Brute. But I've always personally felt like this match with Holly was what began his decline. Don't get me wrong, Hardcore is a great worker in all rights. He got a lot of aggressive offense in, and during the match, Mordecai didn't come off like the threat he was supposed to be. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying squash Hardcore entirely. Give the guy some offense, but, maybe not that much offense. That's a little excessive. And after that match, Mordecai kind of just began falling down the card. The gimmick itself wasn't actually created by the WWE, but by the man portraying the gimmick himself, Kevin Fertig. And he created it in a meeting with Vince McMahon. Those attending that sit-down said Vince got a rare sparkle in his eye after being pitched the character, leading to John Laurinaitis himself tracking Kevin down following the interview to inform him, and I quote, "Kid, you're about to make $1 million. I don't know why, but my John Laurinaitis impression sounds like SpongeBob when he doesn't have water.
I don't need water! Water's for quitters!
And I think in hindsight, it's safe to say that Johnny was off by a couple of zeros. And speaking of zeros, that's exactly what Mordecai was treated like after a brief winning streak. A winning streak that saw him go through opponents who clearly didn't stand a chance. But because Vince was so high on him at first, the push to bring him one-on-one with the Undertaker player began. Which I guess really shouldn't be a surprise because the guy practically looks like the color swap palette of the Undertaker. He was practically tailor-made for a feud against the dead man. I mean, just think about it, the man from the dark side versus the man from the exact opposite of that. Mordecai, for all intents and purposes, was the Negataker. The man looked like what I can only assume God must look like in a Satanist nightmare. This man looked like some anti-Christian propaganda. This guy was made to one day eat a tombstone pile driver, and I am so upset to this day that he didn't. It's gotta suck having the rug pulled out from you, especially when there's nothing but an abyss directly under that rug. Mordecai went from a potential Mania payday against one of the biggest icons in all of wrestling to jobbing out to Hardcore Holly. I know that there's also been persistent rumors that Fertig would have been revealed to either be Undertaker and Kane's brother, or perhaps the Undertaker's long-lost son. And yeah, that's cheesy and corny, but man, I would have ate that shit up. The Undertaker is truly one of the most interesting characters that was ever conceived for the squared circle. His background has continually been expanded over decades, and to me at least, even if it's not always good, which it definitely has not always been, it's always been interesting. There's also some other sources that say that he would have been revealed to be an old rival of the dead man's, coming back to even a score of some sorts. Whatever the reveal was going to be, I would have loved to see him added to the Undertaker and Kane's lore. It could have worked. I love the concept of another close person to the Phenom's past coming back to seek vengeance of some kind. And even now, I still think it should have happened. For me, the character was interesting enough to last a couple years in the company, and at the very least, worthy enough of getting a one-on-one with the Lord of Darkness. The match might not have been great, but it probably still would have been a spectacle. Now it's just a missed opportunity, which is also how Mordecai's tenure in the company could best be wrapped up. Mordecai, a missed opportunity.
Mr. Laurinaitis had to release him.
I'd actually like to take this opportunity to wish him the best in all his future endeavors.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. You're watching the Social Injustice Warrior, V Infuso's channel, dude. So if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too want to become a V-tard, don't forget to like and subscribe, and click that little bell icon to get updates and notifications. Ooh, tell him what up, Mach. Ooh, yeah. Follow the man on Twitter, yeah, because we all know it's not stalking if it's on the internet, yeah. Join the madness by joining the Discord, and if you have a moment of time and a free $1 to spare, head over to the SIJW's Patreon, dig it, where you can request videos, get exclusive videos, and early access to content, yeah. Or go down to PayPal, where you can buy the shirts, brother. But most importantly, just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.